Okay, we're going to take a look at numbers 3 and 4 on the Chapter 6 Quiz 1 review. And so problems 3 and 4. So number 3, I is 30, J is 10. So here's our memory locations. Want to keep track of things. We're going to go to an if statement. The if statement is asking, is I, which is 30, according to the memory location, is it greater than whatever 10 plus j is? So it's asking, is 30 greater than 20? Which it is. So true tells us in an if statement to jump into the if clause portion, which means we're not going to do the else. We're only doing one or the other. So since this is true, now we're going to enter into a while loop in here. The next line says to check to see, is I, which is 30, is it greater than 10? And since it is, now we're jumping into the loop. So the loop starts here and ends here. So we're going to go between these two braces until we're done with the loop. And so we jump into the loop, and we're going to assign another value to I. So I currently is 30. And so we're going to assign I to be 30 minus 10, which is now 20. And then the next line of code is to print the value of I. Okay? And that is 20. So we're going to print that on the screen. Now we come down, the next line of code is a brace. This is the closing brace for while, so it tells us to go back to the while statement. The while statement now, it says, is I greater than j? Well, I is changed. And so you look at the memory location and you go, is 20 greater than 10? Because j is not changing. It's still true, so we're going to jump into the loop again. Only this time we're going to ask ourselves, is 20, we're going to assign I to be 20 minus 10, which is 10. So I changes. Then the next line of code says to print the value of I, which is 10, so we're going to print that on the next line down. The next line of code is the closing brace for the while loop, which tells us to return to the while statement. Okay, now we see then that as we come back to this while statement, I has now been changed to be 10. So because we find that in the memory location. So now the question is 10 greater than 10, because again j is not changing. Well, as it turns out, this is now false. So this while statement produces the logic expression, or Boolean expression produces a false statement, which means we kick out of the loop. Now remember, the loop ends at this brace. So when we're kicking out of the loop, we're actually going to go now below this brace. Well, what's below this brace? Is another brace. And that brace is the ending brace for the if clause. And remember, if we do the if portion, we don't do the else portion. So we're done with if. So that means we are now going to kick out of the if-else structure, which ends right here with the last brace of the else. And so now we're out here in Never Never Land. So there's nothing left to do. There's nothing that tells us to go back anywhere. We just stay here, and now the program is done. Okay, now we're going to look at number 4. And in number 4, I is 30 and j is 10, so we have our memory locations set up. The very first thing that we start doing actually is the while loop. Now notice the while loop starts here and ends here. So we're going to jump into the loop, and the first thing that we do is we check out, oh wait, first of all we got to check while loop. I is 30, and the question is 30 greater than or equal to 10? Which it is. So since this is true, we're going to jump into the loop. So the loop is the first line in the loop is an if-else structure, the beginning of an if-else structure. Now this is a Boolean expression or logic expression. The question is 30 greater than the sum of j plus 10? So is 30 greater than 20? Which that is true. Now since it's true, we're going to jump into the if structure, and we don't do the else, because you do one or the other. So in here in the if structure, the program says to print yes. So we're going to print yes on the screen. We are now done right here with the if portion or the if clause. So we are going to jump out of the if else structure, which ends right here. The next line of code is assigning I to something else. I is now going to be assigned to whatever the value of I is right now, which is 30 still, and minus 10. So I is now assigned to be 20. Okay, the next line down is the ending brace for the while loop. So this ending brace always says return to while. Okay, so that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to go and we're going to return to while. Okay, so here we are. We're returning to while, and we're going to do the while statement again, and we're going to take a look at the Boolean expression. The question is I, which is now 20, which you got to check your memory location, is it greater than or equal to 10? Which it is. So this is still true. So we're now going to jump into the loop, and remember the loop ends right here. So we're going to jump in here, and now again we have the if-else structure, and we're going to check out the if statement. The question is 20 greater than 10, 10, that's right, plus 10. Well, 20 is not greater than 20, so now this if statement is false. So all that tells us to do is not do the if portion. Instead, we go to the else. The else says to print out the word no. And so now we're going to print no. Alright, so this next line is this ending brace for the else. So we know now that we're done with the if-else structure. The next line down says to assign I to whatever I is now, which we look at our memory location, and we see that I right now is 20. We're going to subtract 10, so we have 10. So now I is going to become 10. It's assigned a new value. The next line down is a brace, an ending. It ends the loop, and it says go back to while. That's what the brace tells us to do. And so we go now back to while, and we're going to check out the Boolean expression again. And when we come back here to this while statement, we see now we're going to check to see is I greater than or equal to j. An I has been changed to 10. So we're going to check is 10 greater than or equal to 10. Well, it is. So it's still true. We're going to jump inside the while loop and start the if statement again. And this question is I, which is 10, is it greater than 10 plus 10? Because j is 10 as we look at the memory location. Well, this is false again. So again, that means we're not going to do the if portion. We're going to do the else portion. So we jump to the else. The else tells us, hey, let's print no. So we print no. The next line down is an ending brace for else. So we are done with the if-else structure. We go to the next line. The next line says to assign I to be whatever I is now, which is 10. If you look at the memory location, it tells us that, and we're going to subtract 10. So now the I is going to be assigned the value 0. The next line down is going to go down to a brace that says to end the loop and go to while. So we're going to go back to the while statement. Now I is no longer 10, I is 0. So the question is, because again, we look at our memory location, is 0 greater than or equal to j, or to 10? Which is no, it's false. So now this is false. So this is a while loop that we're talking about. And so we are going to kick out of the while loop. Well, the while loop ends right here. Remember that? And so we're going to kick out of that loop, go past it, and there just happens to be nothing there. So the program is done.